So first of all, I want to welcome everybody here tonight. It's great to see so many people from the club. It's great to have so many people from the Friends of the Chemung River. And it's good to have members of our church here as well. And I'm hoping a few more will wander through the door as the evening progresses. We are, I'm basically telling this to Lynn right now. We're the Twin Tiers Five Rivers chapter of Fly Fishers International. We're a club that does a lot of fly fishing instruction. We say we do conservation as well, and we are all about welcoming new people into the sport of fly fishing. Um,
I didn't know that.
oh,
Sorry.
okay. We'll do this without my slides.
Sorry about that.
We have some upcoming events that I wanted to tell you about. We will not have a club meeting, a full club meeting in the month of December. It's a busy season, but we're coming back strong in January when we will be attending the Edison Fly Fishing Show. And I think I'm preaching to the choir here, but if you've never been, it's a great time. What we can do as a club, if you decide that you want to go, is we can help you find a carpool. We can help you find a buddy to room with. We can have dinner and attend the fly fishing film festival with you. And we have a specially curated spreadsheet of all the great events and speakers that you might want to attend that Vince Leonard puts together for our club. So if that's something that you're interested in doing, check our newsletter. It'll be on our Facebook page, how you can reach out to us and let us know that that's what you want to do. I'm also really pleased to announce that for the second year in a row, we are going to have a women's fly tying gathering here in this location. It turns out to be a great place for women to have a potluck luncheon and to bring all of our fly tying gear and to share what we know with one another and to have a great time hanging out together. It's a well-attended event. We bring people in from Rochester. We bring in people from Pennsylvania. We bring people from Alfred. So ladies who are out here tonight, please come. And if you're on Zoom, you know who you are. And I guess the other things that I can say that you can look forward to on the calendar coming up in February, we're going to have a full club fly tying event. And we're going to have a program presented by Don Kelly from Tackle Shack about fishing Pennsylvania waters. And we told him that we specifically wanted to know beyond Pine and Kettle Creeks. So he is excited about sharing his knowledge about that with us and helping to decipher some of the really confusing Pennsylvania fishing regulations. I don't know. I find them confusing. The rest of you probably know them by heart. Anyway, that's it for club announcements. And I wanted to then turn this over to Liz Zilinski, and I'm going to give you a quick introduction here in just a second. But before I do, I wanted to let you know that we have some on the table behind me. There's some literature about the Chemung River Friends. If you're not a member, I think there's some membership materials there. And so we welcome you to take a look at that and to become a member. You'll see that there's a lot that our two clubs have in common, chiefly a love of the Chemung River resource that is so important to our region. I also put out a basket because we're really grateful to First Congregational Church for letting us use this room free of charge. And it would be really wonderful if we could make a small donation to them back for that. So if you are inclined to do so, please do. All right, introductions. Liz Zilinski has worked with nonprofit organizations in various roles for 2 decades. I can't believe that. It makes me feel very old, including as board president, vice president, and secretary, grant writer, and outreach coordinator. She is the web designer for Horseheads Family Resource Center, Chemung Valley Audubon Society, Eldridge Park Carousel Preservation Society, Friends of the Chemung River Watershed, and Paradise Garden Animal Haven, among others. She has 2 daughters, 2 dogs, 4 cats, a bazillion fish, and a very patient husband. When not writing, coding, or planning, she enjoys reading, crochet, playing piano, and spending time outdoors. And obviously, too, she is the director of the Friends of the Chemung River. Please welcome Liz Zilinski. Thank you for coming.
So I am going to be sitting for this presentation. I have some nerve damage in my foot that is acting up today, among some other issues I'm having this evening. So bear with me on that. what we're going to be discussing tonight is just some of the things that we've done this year, some updates we have on river access here in Corning that you guys have specifically asked about, and some of our fly fishing stuff. So I'm going to use this tech here and see if I can put it up. All right. Did I just go one slide?
Yep.
Am I good? All right. So the actions that we took this year are all based on a strategic plan that we developed in 2022. And we did that with funding from the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation and Upper Susquehanna Coalition. This plan takes us through 2026 with 3 main priorities that I'm going to cover right now. This plan, by the way, was developed with information from stakeholders like you. We went into the community, we did polls, we did surveys, we did workshops. So this is all based on what our own community was looking for our organization to do. I tried, I know I wasn't. Yeah. Oh, we'll get it. So the first priority is to promote the safe use, importance, and community appreciation of the Chemung River Watershed. This is a given. It's why we were established. Jim Pfeiffer is here tonight. He was a founder of our organization. He's my mentor. And promoting the safe use of the river, promoting recreation on it so that people do use it, so that they see the importance of it for our own community, is one of our guiding forces. So this was a no-brainer. And this actually has 3 different priorities in it, priority areas. So the first priority is to clarify the purpose of our mission. It's something that we struggled with because we've accomplished some of our mission, which is something that we're very excited about. But when you do accomplish part of your mission, you got to think, well, where do I go from here? So that's where the input from the community came in. We wanted to improve the ease of access to the river and the trails. So that means improving the boat launches that we have. It means cleaning up the trails that we have. And one of the projects that we're working on right now is actually Chemung County's very first ADA boat launch, which will allow people who are in wheelchairs, who have mobility issues, who are just tired after a workout and need some extra strength to get into the river without any issues. And we really want to reinforce the sustainability of what we do in service to the community. So if we can go to the next one. So how'd we do? We did pretty well. This is obviously not a picture of the Chemung River. If it was, I wouldn't be telling you about this. I'd be fired. So clarifying the mission, who we are and what we do. Those were questions we asked the public during the transition. A lot of people had no idea who we were and what we did. They knew that there was a river organization, but they didn't know what we did. Do we just like the river? Do we just do kayaking? Who are we? So clarifying the mission was critical. Answers were all over the place. So we decided to just reduce our mission into 1 sentence and go from there. As far as reinforcing sustainability, it's kind of a boring goal, but it's a necessary goal. We get our funding from multiple sources, and what we learned during the pandemic was diversifying those income sources is something we need to do to keep afloat. Anybody who was not able to do that folded under. I'm sure you guys know businesses that folded under. Lots of organizations did as well. So these are the goals we had to do. We did them pretty well. You'll go to the next slide. These are our successes. We brought attention to environmental successes and failures. Some people say, well, why do you want to bring attention to the failures of the organization? It makes us inhuman. I mean, we're comprised mostly of volunteers, but it also lets the community know what work we have to do and they have to do, because most of the work we do is run by volunteers. So I'm going to be discussing these 3 things in the next couple of slides, but we celebrated the completion of the Chemung County Water Quality Strategy. That's a success. But we also wanted to bring attention to Mark Twain Riverfront Park in Elmira. So if you read the news, you saw we had an issue with the city not taking care of that park. It's, you know, right in the heart of downtown Elmira Business District. And there was a lot of garbage there. It wasn't being tended. And I'll go into some of the work Karen has done there, leading our outreach coordination and our volunteers. But safety and access and more sustainable fundraising were two more successes that we had. Go to the next slide. So what is safety and access? Life jackets. We give away more than 200 life jackets a year, and we do that thanks to a generous donation from Hesselson's. In the past, we had to purchase these life jackets ourselves. It was $2,000 of our budget to purchase those life jackets. So having Hesselson's, which is a local community business, support us in that goal was amazing. With that money, we were able to do more community programs, more volunteer programs, and to buy more things for safety and access, things like the stickers that go on the kayaks. So if people lose their kayaks, they can get them. And to bring more stuff into schools. So the macroinvertebrate program is one of the things I'll cover a little bit later. But a lot of that is because of Hesselson's. It's just a small local business who made a huge impact by just donating those life jackets to us. So we host water safety classes as well. We're able to do those for free. We got $2,000 cleared up in the budget. So we offer these water safety classes to the community. We do 3 to 5 of them a year. If you guys have not been to one of those, or if you know somebody who is not familiar with kayaking, maybe wants a refresher, Jim Pfeiffer leads these. He teaches you all the paddle signs. He gets you out on the river. We've had people go to these safety classes who are terrified of being on the Chemung River. And after a class, they feel comfortable paddling from Botchers to Grove. And that's an amazing accomplishment. They tell their friends about that. That brings more people down to the river. We get more people fishing and more people enjoying it. It gets the word out about the work that we do here. Trail markers. So this picture here is actually from last year with our board of directors doing the trail markers on the Lackawanna Trail. They went and they updated them because they had faded. We've got trail markers every mile. But this year, what we're working on are mile markers for the Chemung River. And this has been a project that's been in development for a couple of years. And I'll get to this in a minute with why we're doing it. The Girls Making Waves program is a partnership we did with Girl Scouts. We do programs with Boy Scouts pretty often. Boy Scouts help make the education boxes. If you haven't been on our Facebook, they're amazing. They're beautiful. They build kiosks, the White Wagon Education Trail. Those kiosks were all made by a Boy Scout. That was his Eagle Scout project. But we didn't do a lot with Girl Scouts. So Girl Scouts is near and dear to me. I am a Girl Scout leader. So I really wanted to do something with Girl Scouts. And what we did was we developed nature and river related badge programs, and we're calling that Girls Making Waves. And that's actually funded by Women of the Southern Tier, Fund for Women of the Southern Tier. So that's going to be eco badges. We're going to introduce kayaking with that next year. And we're going to try to target elementary school to middle school girls for that program to get these girls on the water. As you may know, it's hard to get girls involved in these programs. I'm not sure fly fishing has the same issues getting girls involved, but they tend to shy away from sports as they get older, and that's a shame. So we want to bring them in when they're young and teach them that they can do this. And then the water safety classes. Not only did we do them on the river with Jim, but we also have our 16-foot by 16-foot portable pool that was funded by the Community Foundation. And we can bring that on site. We brought it to schools. We bring it to West Elmira Firehouse, and we set that up, and we get the kids there. We get people who are maybe afraid of paddling there. Do you have a question?
Yeah. Would we ever fill that with water and put trout in it?
I don't think the DEC would allow us to stock it with trout and have kids fish out of it, but I could reach out to Jim and see if it's possible. Is it? That'd be awesome.
Fly fishing. Fair day. Where we invited people. Part of that, we had about a 20-foot diameter and about that we're headed for the mill pond up in hijacked the trout kids, and those are
That's
so,
really cool.
so it's possible. I don't think What's tricky these days. Just to get the traffic.
So I'm not sure how all the mic would pick that up.
I don't know, probably, it
But-
probably did.
All right, if not, we can add a notation at the end, but it is possible apparently, which is exciting. Hey, that could be a really fun program this summer, putting some trout in that pool. And then the trail markers. So with the river mile trail markers, if you've been paddling on the river, you've seen that we do have trail markers there. They're very hard to see from the river. And they have letters and numbers on them that correspond with the fire department closest to them, which isn't very helpful for somebody on the river who's not familiar with the local fire departments. For example, Golden Glow would be GG. So if I'm on the river, I might not remember I'm at GG12 or whichever number it is. So we're partnering with a whole bunch of different people to develop river mile markers. We've actually applied for $80,000 in funding. No, $180,000 for that project. And that's all going to be part of the New York Susquehanna Basin Water Trails. Go to the next slide here. So what's a water trail? The water trail or blueway is a stretch of river that's been mapped out with the intent to create an educational, scenic, and challenging experience for recreational canoers and kayakers. They allow access to waterways for non-motorized boats and inner tubes and other crafts. And water trails connect all these communities together. We'll go to the next slide. Water trails are really important to our economy and to our communities. It's not just about the recreation, it's also about ecotourism. And I know that seems kind of counterintuitive to say we're about environmentalism, but we really want tourists coming in, because when people think of tourism, one of the first things that comes to mind is there's going to be more garbage. So I was in Colorado this summer, and they have a wonderful, wonderful river culture there. There was no garbage. What there was a whole lot of people from the city cleaning up. There were garbage cans every 100 feet. And there were signs posted, you're going to use the river at your own risk. And wouldn't you know it, hundreds of thousands of people are willing to use the river at their own risk as long as you put that sign up there. And nobody was injured. Everybody was having a great time. That is not a class 1 river. The class 1 river that we have, that the Chemung, is one of the easiest beginner rivers for paddlers. They have class 2 through 6 there, I believe, in Colorado. So bumps, hills, and I saw children there having a great time. So this is a possibility that we could do here. Having that tourism come in also creates a healthier community for us. It brings more people into our organizations. It brings more interest into fly fishing, for example. That's more people that you can reach, and it's more potential funding, which is also important, though not the main goal. My really exciting thing, though, is the possibility of using this as an educational tool. So one of the funnest things for me to do as a director is to host the educational classes. Karen has been fantastic at reaching out to all these people and setting up all these educational things. I love reading the books to the children. I love hosting the macroinvertebrate workshops. These are things we could do more of as we develop this water trail. But the issue is access. So we'll go to the next slide. This is actually the front page of the New York Susquehanna Basin Water Trail website. It's going to be at www.paddlethis607.com. Obviously, it's coming in 2025. It's not developed yet. We're still getting funding for all of this stuff. Technically, it's conceptual, but we're at the last parts of this. We're just getting the last bit of funding for these bits and pieces, and it's incredibly exciting. So this is going to allow us to bring more people to the river and get more funding to create more access. I know Corning doesn't have a lot of access.
Walkers are in
Oh, are they?
Oh, really? I have to go back. Where are
Because
you?
this is one of Chris Walter's pictures. He does
Oh,
fantastic
It's that ad at the
photography.
bottom left of-
His photo is also on the front of our business card.
Oh, okay.
Really?
Right.
So you guys are on the Paddle the 607 website. I'm hoping that'll be the picture they go with. Again, it's a conceptual site right now. So they're just working stuff out with Chris so that they can buy the rights for that photo because that was a favorite. You'll see that this water trail starts in Corning, which makes Corning extremely important for this project. And you'll see how far it goes, all the way to Cooperstown. This trail is going to connect all these different communities together. And because Corning is where it starts, Corning is integral to the success of this project. So if you go to the next slide here. Responsible recreation, I covered that, but you see the project collaboration here. We've got Visit Binghamton, we got Cooperstown Tourism, Discover Chemung River Watershed. Who are those people? I don't know. Explore Sudan and Experience Tioga. This is a huge project. We've been working on it for years, and it's at the end, and it's so exciting. Visit this website and check out some of the stuff they're doing, and I think you guys are going to be really excited about it as well. Go to the next one. And what is it going to bring? We have 190 miles of water you can navigate. We got 400 miles of potential water trail access. And we have 59 existing access sites in the project area. 11 of those are between Corning and Elmira, or between Corning and Chemung. So we have a pretty significant chunk of the access, but we really want to get more access in Corning. So next slide here. I'm going to bring Jim Pfeiffer up here in a minute to talk about this. This is the Cohocton Street River access site. As some of you know, we've been talking about updating this site for years. We've encountered some issues trying to do this, which Jim will go into. Do you want to do the issues first, and then I'll talk about the stuff that's coming with this? So
You
Jim,
can, if you want, you can just sit there and take this microphone.
do that?
Or do you want to come up? Okay, you can. Podium, pointing, yeah. I got it.
Still need a mic.
I'll just give you this mic.
So, folks, I love talking to groups like this because you use the river, understand its value, you respect nature, you take care of it. And I ask you to what you learned tonight, to share it with kids and grandkids, because there's such a nature deficit out there with kids. It scares me to death. I take kids down to the river 14 and 15, and they are afraid of alligators and sharks. It's funny, but it's sad. They're going to be taken care of at water source when it's going to be very long. Other thing I like about fly fishers is I know have a lot of and I
Right.
so one of the nice things about they are very accessible. A lot of boat launches, which means you can go down to those boat launches to fish, hike, photography. Often I go there to just sit in the sun and watch water flow by and my stress. So it's very, very easy to get to. The problem is we don't have a lot of the issue we're dealing with according is the same thing we were dealing with when we started. I don't want people down to the river. Why? Be a lot of crime down there. There's going to be a lot of littering and people doing bad things down there. Well, it's just the opposite. We were getting good people down there and they were chasing the bad people out that were doing the illegal dumping and so on. That doesn't exist anymore. People are down there taking care of it. That's what we're fighting here in Corning with the council, some of the elected officials. They're opposed to that. The police department are opposed to that. What we need is people who live up here to start saying, look what they're doing in Chemung. Why aren't we doing it up here? And it can happen. Fly fishers, you understand the value of the river, what it can do for a community quality. This is a great boat launch. It has a lot of parking area to get to. The problem is the city doesn't want us to do it. 5 or 6, that's longer than that. Several years ago, Corning Foundation was putting up money to improve the park that's right next to that boat launch. And I contacted Tom Tranter, was the head of it at the time, and I said, as long as you're doing this, would you guys be able to pony up money so we can fix up the boat? And roll over it, clean it up? He goes, sure. 15 grand. Some things happened, had that come apart. It never happened. So it just sort of sits now. Riverfront is pushing it. Think that we're trying to do the same thing with the boat launch behind the way. By the way, there's a wonderful fishing hole there for fish muskies. Those two spots along the river will help greatly in the river trail we're trying to make, but also what we're trying to do in Corning to get more people down there to start using and enjoying the river. And what I've discovered is if I can get you down to the river and I can get fishing, wow, it's a wonderful resource. I want to take care of it. I want to support, and that's what happens. People down there and let happening up. Need people like you and groups like you go to the elected officials and say, why isn't this happening? River Friends wants to come up here and do this. Let's work with them. Let's make it happen. So this boat launch would be a place. It's just so muddy because there's no actual road there and there's nothing paved up and over it. So there's a lot of space down there to do a lot of parking. You could put in pavilions if you wanted, put in some kiosks about the history about the river and so on. That's up to what you want. Same thing with what we're trying to do with the boat launch in behind Wegmans. So all those boat launches we have allow us to go paddling for a few hours, half a day, 2 days, 3 days, because you got boat launches in the way we can. And I ask you, share this information with the public. Bring your kids and your grandkids down there and share some of your disposable income with Chemung River Friends. Thank you.
But I salute Chemung River Friends for speaking out, trying to get a good ramp put in Corning. Jim, you and I have had these discussions over the years, and this is an area really high need, and the ramp at Chemung really high need. As far as motivation for having these launches, I find it unconscionable that we've had 2 deaths on the rivers over the last decade. And one of if there was ever an emergency during the springtime, it would be absolutely impossible to launch life-saving equipment here. Same true in Chemung. The number one issue for me is we've got to figure out how to make the river safer. And one way is first responders, we've got to give them every advantage to get on the river. So having paved ramps, I run a drift boat, so a paved ramp is really helpful to me. I understand maybe that's not so important for kayakers, but our fire companies, they have their equipment on trailers and you can't get on. So I salute this. I would really highly encourage the ramp construction not be submerged like what was done at Meniere's Field. That fills with mud and then it needs to be maintained. It would be relatively straightforward to put a good ramp in there that wouldn't fill with mud. But I find it unconscionable that our local governments would resist making our rivers safer. I just find that unconscionable.
Paddlers like ramps too. And it's accessible, not for just the people with kayaks, canoes, and stand-up paddle. For motor. The back of those ramps, the back of trailers down there. And for the fire department. Here's what's interesting. When we started, we were getting a lot of pushback from fire department people. You don't want to go down there and do that. You don't have the equipment, you don't have the training. And about them, about them, hired people to come in and train. They're all trained now. There is a Chemung County River Task. All the fire departments and them, they love it. Fire department loves going out and training on it. It's something different, it's something new. They enjoy it and they're good at it. And you're right about that. Being able to have access to the river to make those rescues. I just want to talk a little bit about safety on it. When I was a newspaper reporter with the start of that, every year and a half I'd write a story about somebody's drowning. Thank you. As river friends came into existence, there's been 2 drownings. Most of them was through ignorance and experience. One of the things I'm proudest of is how we've taught people to be safe on the river. Taught people that what it looks like on the surface is completely different than what's under it. And I have people that come up and say to me, you know, afraid of one. I would rather be afraid on the river, not what you're doing and for you to get hurt. And the fact that we've increased the use of that river 20-fold is amazing. But that is something I worry about all the time. It's about these on the river as we are increasing it. But you bring up such a great point for fire departments being able to have access and also to be able to go down there and do their training and do their drills. And I didn't think of that, but that's a nice lever to use when you're talking to elected officials about saving lives. I don't know if we could get the fire departments to get behind us on that. It's something we certainly should be looking into.
I would think they would welcome that, and also to maintain the ramps that get silted over. Just a comment on safety. I really appreciate what you're about to be safety. As somebody that spends a lot of time on the river, the kind of behavior I see mostly in kayaks and so forth is people having a lot to drink and enjoying the river that way. And the river is pretty benign except for sweepers, and that's what's got the last 2 people, the sweepers. I wonder if there might be a connection point at the kiosks, at the launch points, to remind people of the danger of the sweepers. Like I said, you're trying to reach it, but some of the people I see on the river probably are not in your class. And I think about how could we just kind of connect to those people. It's so simple, just stay there. Sweeper.
The problem we run into is having printed information, people read it and buy it. The problem we run into is I have to get you on the river so you can see what a sweeper is and understand how it operates. That's the problem. You go by and you see now the river, you don't realize what's under it and what's happening to get to trouble. Well, that's why I'm glad we do so many of these safe river training classes. And that when every time there's a fatality, I contact the law enforcement agency, investigates it to find out what happened, and we use that to continue to educate people. But you're right, those sweepers and what's water that they can't see are like you talking to people. Glad to hear your concern. Questions?
Not to belabor this topic, but who owns that land and who has final authority?
When it comes to the river, EC is king. If it's in the floodplain, can't do anything without their permission. So it's very difficult to build any permanent structures on the other side of the levee. They don't want anything. Who owns that land? I'm not sure. I do know that we talked to folks at the pressware plant that's there, and they would love to have a boat launch. Their employees, they said, you guys can come and park in our parking lot. We would support that wholeheartedly. But I don't know who owns the property. We, the city of Corn. But because you own it, doesn't mean you can do anything without it.
Just you said you're getting a lot of pushback from They the ones that go third.
The pushback from the bigger is just easiness. I don't want to have to go down there and maintain it.
Yeah.
I want to have to train people to go. I mean, the argument I use is that we shouldn't have highways because people really drive drunk on highways. People really go speeding on highways. That's not why we have to do it. What we need is the voters and the public. Please, let's do something. Do what they're doing down the
You made a point about the governments being worried about nefarious behavior. And I think that's a real concern. What I would say to you is the most nefarious behavior I have observed on the river ramps is at Chemung. And believe it or not, in Pressware. So the Pressware, I came to lunch one day and there was a guy totally nude taking a bath at that ramp.
Oh my.
And you're going, okay, wow, this is something weird. And you're kind of going, that is as public as a place as I could imagine without being in downtown Corning. But I think if the governments are presuming that there's nothing there because they don't know about it, they just have their eyes closed.
But what I've discovered is good people who are using it correctly and are there all the time, and chasing out the bad people. We used to have problems with the boat launches, people doing drugs. I've seen it everywhere. People having sex down there, just terrible things. They don't go there anymore. They could do it elsewhere. Because the public is coming in. Good eyes are there.
That's true.
I'm not surprised. I could amaze you with stories of what I've seen happening on the river prior to us coming in, setting up the boat launches, and chasing the bad people up. They'll do it. They don't know where.
So I know this has a lot more representation.
Was that dumping you were talking about at Dunfield? You said it was Dunfield for that? No, really?
So this boat launch here, pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and nothing. With this water trail development, Kevin Peterson, who is the Bend County Conference and Visitors Bureau president, he is on the water trail team. And he and I had a meeting to discuss the lack of access in Corning. Because in order for Corning to be successful in this water trail, you need to put access points, your real access points. And if this isn't going to be viable, the question was, what will be viable? So if we'll go to the next slide here. Kevin said that Corning Wegmans has this land along the river behind it. We get volunteers from the Corning Rotary who actually go out there once a year and do a fantastic job cleaning that up. But Corning Wegmans, Park Avenue Recreation Center, and Finger Lakes Land Trust are in discussion to purchase that land to put the access site right there.
That'd be awesome.
That means they can park behind the Wegmans and walk right down there into the river. So this is our option number 2. And this is something that I think is actually viable, perhaps more viable than the Cohocton Street boat launch. If it is a success, we can use that as a learning point to get Cohocton developed. But this is a starting point, and this is more progress than we've made. Park Avenue Recreation Center. They want to help fund it because bringing in more tourism is going to bring more business to them too. It's going to bring fantastic amounts of business to all these downtown places. It's going to be great for Corning. So, who knew? I'll have to talk to Kevin about that. But this is where we're going with access points to Corning. We don't want to argue about the Cohocton Street boat launch right now if this is an option that we can do. And to me, this seems like a really viable option. And it'll be walking distance to a ton of Corning businesses. It'll be absolutely fantastic for the Corning economy. And since this is the start of the water trail, it's perfect location. So this is where we're headed here. Behind the Wegmans, down the hill here, Finger Lakes Land Trust is probably the one who would be purchasing it. Again, this is all in discussion right now, but the ramp would go right there behind the Wegmans. So if you go from Wegmans straight to the river, that's where it would be. And then they'd be able to park here in the parking lot behind Wegmans to bring the kayaks down there. They'd be able to shop in the Wegmans and then walk downtown along Market Street. And
Would there be?
yes. So again, it's all conceptual right now. That's all stuff that we would consider. And then you mentioned education about sweepers and things like that on kiosks. That's another thing that we would want to fund as part of this water trail. We want to get kiosks and education on every single point because what we want to treat it as an introduction to the river. You know, we want people who are just starting to feel comfortable going out on the river and know about that stuff. And that is a safety issue, a major safety issue, and people just don't understand it. So if we can't reach them through programs, we'll reach them right there at the boat launch. Go to the next slide. Priority number 2 was to create meaningful education programming and community engagement opportunities for stakeholders. So my slide here doesn't correspond with these, but we did have programming growth. So if you go to the next slide. Growing organizational capacity, that meant hiring more people. This organization has been run by one paid employee since the beginning. That's Jim Pfeiffer over there. Then it was Emily Marino, and then it was me. And when I got in, I said, I don't know how they do it by themselves. It was crazy. So I'm going to hire somebody else to help. And I hired Karen Charnetsky as my outreach coordinator to help develop this educational portion of our priorities. And she has been absolutely fantastic. You're on a slide later. So how did we do with this as far as engaging school-age children? If you go to the next slide. We did really well. Pictured below is not the Chemung River. This is actually the Cleveland, Ohio River that caught fire before the EPA regulations came into place. And we hope those regulations remain, but we just don't know now, do we? So if you'll go to the next slide. Priority 2 had 3 goals: grow capacity, education, and community engagement. So with grow capacity, the outreach coordinator, Karen's position was crucial to growing our capacity. We had 36 programs just this summer. We've never had that many programs in that short a time period. We were all over the place. And in doing that, we got the word about who we were, what we were doing, and we got to share other programs with us. Jim's fly fishing program. We have a bunch more fly fishers now because of things like this. Our volunteer network group. And again, that's our outreach coordinator. Karen reaches out to schools, to colleges, to parent groups, and we get volunteers through those groups to fulfill our mission priorities. And we got a new office. So we actually just moved into 109 North Main Street in downtown Elmira. It's the former Downtown Grind, which is a wonderful coffee shop and my favorite place to live during the day. But that new office has given us 1,000 square feet to hold programs. When I started, we were in a 300 square foot closet. So this has been a fantastic way to increase engagement as well. We can actually hold all these new activities right on our home base and share all of our stuff with everybody in the community. Education programs, macroinvertebrates. If you guys are making flies, you're making them look like macroinvertebrates. Flora and fauna, water safety, which we covered, and stewardship. We want people to know cleaning up the river, that's everybody's responsibility. You can't say, well, I didn't put that there, so I'm not going to do it. Because if everybody did that, nothing would be done. There's always going to be somebody who's going to throw their trash in the river. There's always going to be. 10,000 years from now, there's going to be some futuristic astronaut just dumping out of the spaceship right into the river. Community engagement. The program calendar, if you go to our website, you look at our program calendar, right now we have Coffee with Friends, which is another program that was developed by Karen. It's workshops hosted by very knowledgeable folks. Most recently, we did a bat program and we had the rangers come in and they actually taught us all about bats. We had kids come in, look at taxidermy bat skeletons and bat wings, so they got to see that. And then small group events, so things like the fly tying workshop. Next slide. But let's talk about the outreach coordinator, because that's Karen over there. And that's a picture of her, and she's fantastic with people. I'm terrible with people. I'm content to sit in my pajamas on my couch in the darkness. And Karen is not that. She wants to go out and greet everybody. And that's the other reason I hired her. She has all the extroversion that I completely lack. So she has led volunteer teams since she came on board, and we've gotten so much done because of the work and the heart that she puts into this stuff. Mark Twain Riverfront Park, which was a big deal in April. We were arguing with the city about getting support to do that. We've adopted that park. We adopted it in August. Since August, Karen has led a volunteer team to put in more than 60 hours cleaning it up. We filled 3 dumpsters full of weeds and garbage. And that's because of this new position. That's something we couldn't do before. So we're going to keep growing our programming. She also helps keep me sane. And she's been just absolutely fantastic with outreach. So if you go to the next one. Macroinvertebrate groups, we've taken kids down to the river. We now do field trips with the schools, and Hendy Elementary is actually right across from the river and the park. They walk down there. And Jim mentioned that some kids thought there were alligators in the river. There were kids during our macroinvertebrate program who had never been to the river. They're in the 6th grade. They can walk from the school to the river, and they've never seen the river. And that blew my mind. So getting those kids out there into nature, some of them had never been on a nature trail. And that's critical to their development as well. So all these things that we do are to help uplift our community, to reach kids and their families, because this next generation is what's going to take over when we're done. But this fly fishing workshop that Jim Emick has done is what I'd like to talk about next, because I'm not sure how I'm doing on time. How am I doing?
7:25.
Oh my gosh. So we'll skip that. That's community engagement. We're great at that, by the way. But Jim, if you want to turn this to Jim, or Jim, if you want to sit here, or if you want to stand up there, and talk about your fly tying workshop.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, sure. Actually,
River Friends has always encouraged fishing, but I don't think they've ever done anything with fly fishing. Is that true? So I grew up in Elmira. I fished the river with my dad, my grandfathers, and my buddies. And when I retired from teaching, I took a fly tying class. And I don't know if any of you remember Pinewood Flies up in Pine Valley, New York. Ray Grander taught me the basics, and I started tying flies. So since I've joined River Friends, I've done a couple of introductory workshops at Botcher's Landing, and if you've never been there, it's just a beautiful place. Lots of room there, and just teaching people the basics of casting and knots and things like that. And so last spring we did our first fly tying class. There's my class, and I was hoping for some younger people to sign up, but as you can see, it was a bunch of older gentlemen, but we had a great time. I've done enough fly tying that I can teach the basics. I'm not. My flies aren't that pretty, but they tend to catch fish, I think. So we're going to do another one coming up, and we have had several generous donations. I'm sure you run into that too, Pam. Does anybody here know, did anybody here know Ralph Guestwicki? Ralph was you know Ralph? His widow, I think he died maybe 6 years ago. His widow called us and asked if we would like some fly fishing equipment. And Ralph was quite a collector.
and see, maybe not that easily, but he would go around and find get several of these beautiful glass encased fly patterns. And he was also quite a fly fisherman. And so she donated all of his stuff. I gave some of it actually to Pam and Bob for your was it gear swap or whatever it was?
Fly fishing. We gave them to our fly fishing students.
Yeah. And then, so we've made a display in our office of some of his fly patterns. And then we got another call from a gentleman who actually was a brother of a guy that used to bowl with my dad. And he was quite a fly fisherman. He gave us enough hooks that we'll never have to buy another hook for the rest of our lives, I think. But people have been very generous, and so we're hoping to do something more with this as we go along.
So those hooks, by the way, when we were doing the office move, I spilled them all over the floor. I didn't realize it, and I like to take my shoes off when I'm walking around. So I'm walking around in my socks, and things keep catching. I look down, my socks are full of hooks. So yeah, that wasn't too. All right. All right. So macroinvertebrates, street bugs, crawdads, water pennies, larvae of all kinds, and the reason they're important because it's easily visualized water quality.
If I'm finding a bunch of water pennies and things like that, I have good water. If I'm only finding leeches, I might have a problem. So kids love collecting this stuff, and we actually collect them in bins. They sort them. We've got sorting trays. So it's very hands-on, and it's stuff that they remember. They'll come to me the next year and they'll say, hey, I still remember all this stuff. That was so much fun. Are we going to do it in summer camp? And it's just a fantastic time. So some stream bugs can only live in that water of a certain quality. Adults love this stuff too. It's something everybody loves to do. So if you'll turn to the next one, I'm going to rush through this now because we're way over time. And that's after I cut out a bunch of slides. Macroinvertebrates.org. If you have not heard of this website, you want to go to it. You can share it with your kids and share it with your friends. It has every kind of macroinvertebrate on there. It's got an app that goes with it. So if you're on the river and you find something you don't know what it is, you can actually look it up with this app. So that's something you might want to share in the chat as well. And then priority number 3 was to steward the watershed. Yeah, that's not us either. Does anybody know what that is? Yeah, that's the Ganges. That's the most polluted river in the world. Yeah, the Ganges, and I'm so glad that our river is not that. Go to the next one. And we had a lot of successes. Trees for Tribs, which is Upper Susquehanna Coalition's water quality. They plant buffers, and that helps filter the water naturally. Cleanup events. Again, Karen has arranged these cleanup events. We've got so many volunteers cleaning everything up. And then advocacy and partnerships. We actually went to Washington, D.C. in March. We talked with our representatives, and what we're trying to push is funding for the Chesapeake Bay. Chemung River is part of the Chesapeake Bay. Their funding trickles down to us. And when Trump was president last time, he did attempt to cut 90% of that funding. It did not go through, but our fear right now is that that funding is going to be cut again, and that's going to affect our organization. So you should talk to your representatives as well. Let them know that that's important to you. We need funding to protect the rivers. Go to the next one. But business advice from Vanilla Ice: stop, collaborate, and listen. You can't do any of this without partnership. That means partnerships with you guys, partnerships with other counties, partnerships with municipalities, schools. Everything depends on partnerships. That's where we get our volunteers, and that's how we get our mission out. And we're gonna skip that. But what's coming up next year? We've got field trips, we've got water safety, we got stream team. Our staff was educated this year through Penn State Extension to become master watershed stewards. So that includes a stream team water quality testing program. Girl Scouts, Eagle Scouts, the little minion there is actually my daughter when she was a Daisy, acting insane. She still acts. And diversification. We want people to be able to come to our programs, and we live in a low income area. So if we're charging even $25 for a program, that's going to price out a whole lot of families. We try to keep everything free and low cost. And again, that comes down to funding. So upcoming projects, adopt a park, again, Mark Twain Riverfront Park, adopt a highway. We adopted the highway on Maple Avenue, so we're going to start cleanups there. Pollinator gardens, we're hoping to put more pollinator gardens in McKinnon and Mark Twain, and we have our one at Botchers, and then phase 2, the ADA boat launch. So we've got the funding for it. We've got the funding committed. We've got the town of Big Flats on board. Now we just need to get all of our ducks in a row and make sure insurance signs off on it. But how can you help? You guys can get involved. Attend the program, share the program, share your knowledge with everybody. If you guys wanted to come and host fly fishing workshops for us, that would be fantastic. We definitely would have the interest in it. Excellent. 200 volunteers. That was just this year. 2,500 pounds of trash we've removed. But the impact the volunteers have, we can't even measure it because we wouldn't be able to do it without them. So again, participate and fundraise and share your skills. You'd be amazed at all the things that people want to learn if we just provide that knowledge to them. So FLX Gives is coming November 12th through 13th. It's a 24-hour fundraiser we do every year. Last year we raised $2,500 for hours through this program. You visit flxgives.org and you can fundraise on our behalf, you can fundraise on your behalf and share that with your members to bring more money to your organization, because that helps us as well. It gets more people involved. Yeah. So it's eminent. All right, next slide. And our newsletter. We do have a newsletter. We send out our newsletter monthly. We'd be happy to share your programs in our newsletter as well. We have 1,300 subscribers, and we do our upcoming events, Chemung River updates, and partnership updates. You can visit chemungliverfriends.org to sign up for our newsletter. And if you guys do have events you'd like us to share with our subscribers, we would be happy. Let us know. Any questions? Damn, I'm good. Oh, darn. All right. Come on, everyone.
Want to make sure you're aware of.
Yes. So you can follow our Facebook page, and then in the springtime, when we come up with the cleanup calendar, we're going to be actually posting them on the programs page on the website. So
You do like.
yes, if you send an email to outreach coordinator at chemungliverfriends.org, Karen will add you to our volunteer list. When she's got something going on, she pushes that directly to the volunteers, and that's separate from the newsletter. So you'll be the first to know about something if it happens. So outreach coordinator at chemungliverfriends.org.
There are a couple areas right now
So yeah.
that I really love to have done. So, once we have either a truck or a dumpster or something. But what I normally do is I'll post on Facebook volunteer opportunities, and I also we have no rules about volunteering. You can volunteer once a year, you can volunteer once in your whole life, or you can volunteer all the time.
You can do a half an hour, you can do 30 hours, just whatever you guys can contribute. If you know somebody who likes nature, please participate.
I also have our flyer for our Coffee with Friends. Our next program is actually Saturday, and it's kind of a it's kind of an interesting topic for us. It's called it's a woman who research
but it's talking about fast fashion and where all these trendy clothes go after people wear it a few times, and where it never actually goes away. So she kind of called it the dark side of the fashion industry. So I will use her words. we thought it was a great topic. It really falls into our mission because we strive to keep things out of the river and out of the landfill, mostly out of the river. And so she's going to talk about, you know, making more thoughtful purchases and where things go when you just go to TJ Maxx and find something on clearance and say, oh yeah, I'll take this, and then it ends up going in the garbage. So I'm really excited about that. I think it'll be a good thing, especially as we head into the busy shopping season. Yeah.
Microplastics, you guys are all familiar with 90% of microplastics. So that's something that she'll be discussing, and it's something that I didn't know until
Really?
I almost hate to ask this because I know you're a small staff and you're doing so much. But the river flows through a lot of Corning, and we have riverfront parks. We have Hillview Park, we have William Street Park.
Edison Park, and we've done cleanups all summer long in Corning as well.
And, you know, what would it take to extend some of the other things like planting the pollinator gardens? And I mean, does it take advocacy? Does it take money? Does it take all of the above?
So, yeah.
So Liz and I just take somebody reaching out and saying, hey, we'd like to do this. And we're like, yeah, let's do that.
We're gonna make it happen.
Yeah, we actually, summer, spring, summer, and especially in the fall, we do a program called Park Nature. And we collaborate with Tanglewood Nature Center. We actually did, and so it's for kids like up to age 12, but sometimes we have some kids who are older who will come. So we do nature walks and talk about, like, we usually have a team. We did Edison Park this year. We did Stella Park.
Yeah.
And one other park. Next year we're going to add Centerway Park because it's kind of a cool park to walk around and just a little walk and talk about things. So yeah, we are. Jim actually just did a nature walk for. So we're trying to get our foot in. Definitely. I mean, it is so a little harder.
Most of our volunteers are in Chemung, so if we can get more volunteers from Steuben County, especially from Corning, that'll open up the possibility for us to extend more programming here.
Market now.
I have so much crochet art.
Oh my gosh, we had the best. We had so many people interested. We share our booth with the Chemung Valley Audubon Society, and it was really time well spent. I have to say, can't wait.
You know what you have that no one else has on it either? 4,400.
Yeah.
That's not just people. That's financing and knowledge.
The Corning Foundation funded $20,000 to our organization.
To attract employees and keep them.
We are really sorry that the Corning Foundation no longer exists.
I know, I hear that we were one of the last people to get that. That made me.
Follow up on Pam's question. How far did and because I know there's kiosks that extend up to Hawker.
Yeah.
And I thought that was from.
So most of our work is going to be in Steuben, Chemung, and Bradford County. So we try to work from Corning all the way down to Sayre. It just depends on how many volunteers we have for the season and where they're located.
So you see your.
But the watershed itself, I mean,
The
covers a
whole
vast
watershed
area.
is your.
Our focus is the river, but the watershed all matters because all of it flows right.
And am I right? The kiosks.
Yeah, but we do guided paddle trips on that.
Yeah, I thought you did.
Yes.
No, they're riverfront.
The ones here.
On the
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying there aren't. Yes. Those kiosks are actually pretty awesome. portion on the river. And Feist. with the planning department.
And if you do paddle in Pennsylvania, they have a water trail, and that's what this water trail is going to be modeled on. So their mile markers and icons and things like that. That's what we're modeling. What we're doing. The idea is to connect New York to Pennsylvania and those waterways. Because
Well, Liz and Jim and Karen and Jim, thank you very, very
Thank
much
you.
for coming tonight. In appreciation, our treasurer, Bill Wirtz, has something that he will hand over to you, Liz. And we keep us in mind. I'll make sure that we get our club email address on your mailing list and look for opportunities to collaborate. It's great.
yeah, any events you have, please share with us. We'd be happy to share them. So.
And for those of you who are club members or just want to come along, we are going to adjourn this meeting to the Woodhouse. And if you care to have a little liquid refreshment with us there, you're more than welcome. If you have to go home and put kids to bed, we understand that too. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Make it out.
Chemung River.